Welcome to our Spring Garden 2024 tour. I cannot wait to show you what we've cracked open in all of these garden beds today. Thank you AG1 for sponsoring this video. I'll tell you more about that in a minute. There is a lot that we've done in the last couple of weeks and a lot that's still yet to come. So I'm excited to show you all of it, the way we're growing things, the situation of our beds, all of the little details right here, right now. Our past few videos have taken you through the garden as we renovated, right? We took all of this to the ground and then built it so that there's order again. But you haven't seen a walkthrough, so we're gonna do that today. This is my favorite bed because this is the bed where I told you to grow starts. I would have waited so long in order to get some beautiful poppies or pansies growing. And then easy things like the corn and the beans, they all grew from seed. This is a really good example of a mixed bed, not because we're experts, just because we're not giving up. So if that's you and you need to know you can go buy the starts, go buy the starts. And then my favorite part is just the prettiness of it. We even made the drip irrigation pretty, so it's in a circle because it makes sense for the bed, but it's also just really fun to look at. So this bed is going strong. We're already seeing regrowth on these starts that we put in a few weeks ago. We have pretty flowers, and then this, I'm wondering if this bean is gonna do its thing, but I think one of the girls put this in. I'll show you some really good chaos gardening in a second. Then bush beans here, these are sunflowers. And this bed surprisingly doesn't have radishes, but you're gonna see why I'm surprised in just a second. And then corn here, and that's it for this bed. We'll put some more succession planting here in a couple of weeks. I think we've had a lot of garden experience in the past here, and even when we were in the city, that was very functional. It was like, all right, how much can we pack into this space? And now I feel like we have room to breathe since there's order. So every time we're walking through, there's like clean lines so that it's easy to walk through. And we've already had little hands picking up starts and everything throughout these beds. Felt a little bit like a courtyard. So I didn't need everything stacked up in square lines, but these round beds I feel like give you so much room for creativity. And I've never been very creative when it comes to stuff that we have to produce. But here I feel like we finally made space for that. So these will be sunflowers and zinnias, a lot of cut flowers in this bed. It'll be really beautiful just to like look at. We're not even gonna eat those sunflowers. And then beans scattered throughout and corn. We have never been successful at corn, but I feel like this is our year. This is a good example of a chaos bed, and I would call it that because we chaos gardened with our kids. So there's about 25 radishes in like 5 square inches here, and a bunch of sunflowers that we didn't know were planted. And then some of these tomatoes that still need their cages, but like, look how delicious those radishes are gonna be. We also have some mystery flowers that I'll show you in a second. Okay, this whole section has the drip irrigation set in already, and we just did a video on that last week. I love it because we'd never had drip irrigation in our garden throughout. We've always done a sprinkler on this half, which is probably why we love the order, because we've just had weeds growing up over the walkways. And instead, the plan here is some sort of paver and then a sitting space, because right behind us, we'll have a little bean fort, and they're already starting to sprout. If you don't have what you need, you use what you've got. This is from the hay bales. And we're just gonna turn it into the trellis for these beans. And I think we maybe even stuck nasturtiums somewhere in the ground here, but they're already growing up. I feel like so successful.
Are those bush beans?
No, these are finally pole beans. I've planted bush beans in the wrong spots for the last 3 years. And this time we got some pole beans. They were organic at Walmart and we were pretty impressed. Elephant in the room is this bed that's not finished yet. No drip, no seeds, no anything, but it is full. So we've got a bunch of fill dirt just on the property, and I have piles and piles of this beautiful loamy compost. We're squishy here, just squishing with my bogs boots. I'm normally barefoot here, and these are saving the day today. So this was just a little swampy puddle yesterday. We filled it in a bit. We'll wait for the next rain and see if it's gonna be swampy here again. But right next to it, the tomatoes do not even care. We're already flowering. It's March, you guys. This is, I feel like, when Texas pays off. Most people are still inside with their starter tomatoes. And we've got some that came from seed, these that were starts from a friend and starts from the store. So we're already full of tomato blossoms. That's really exciting. It's our goal to grow as much nutrition as close to home as possible. It's why we set this garden in motion. But regardless of what we can grow here, we will never be able to grow enough nutrients that our bodies need. So when we found AG1, it ticked all the boxes. We've been on a wellness train for a really long time. I think we've tried dozens and dozens of supplements, and they don't all taste good. When we opened our box of AG1, this was something that ticked all the boxes. It's got whole food nutrition in it, 75 vitamins and minerals. It tastes great. I have a better mood and energy with no sugar spikes. These are the things that we were looking for on all the other products that we've tried. We mix it up, we put it in a bottle, Bo drops it in the tractor cup holder and takes it with him throughout the day. It's one of those things that if we hadn't tried it, I wouldn't be able to share it with you. But now that we've given it a good go, I feel like we can drop a link in the description below for you to check out AG1 and see if it's a good fit for your family. So check out our link in the description below. You'll get a free 1-year supply of AG vitamin D3K2 and 5 AG1 travel packs with your very first purchase of AG1. I know why they call it black gold, because this stuff is absolutely worth its weight, because we didn't have to go and buy it, right? What if I told you this came from cow poop? Okay, I even found worms in here, but this is our compost pile that I didn't know we had. I told Bo, hey, we're gonna need to get more and more bags of compost because all we have is fill dirt and everything's gonna dry up. And he goes, no, I know we have compost. So he comes out here with the tractor the other day, dumps this huge pile over the fence, and now we have wonderful, beautiful, nutrient-filled compost. And it's amazing because this came from our cow. The cool thing about this is a finished compost that's been curing basically for the last 6 months, even with this biochar that's been inoculating in it that entire 6 months time. This is going to be perfect for all the microorganisms in the soil to grow and really flourish without a lot of external effort. The cows deposited it, we collected it, put it in a pile, the chickens turned it, and now it's going to be the perfect nutrition for our garden. Remember when I said chaos gardening? I don't think I ever want to garden any other way, and I would only recommend it to someone who's cool with not knowing what's happening.
Oh, no, that was a good one. Don't take that one. Hold on, I'll help you.
About 3 weeks ago, we began putting seeds into the ground. This is Finley's contribution. If she was out here, she would repeat to you, I'm a monster, because she just went wild with radishes. There's probably, I don't know, 16 radishes right here. Most of them will not survive, but if I had been 7, putting my fingers into the dirt, poking holes and plugging them with seeds, this would have been the absolute thrill to have freedom like she did. We have no idea what this is here, so take your guess, let us know in the comments below. And we also have no idea what these are. Whatever packet she ripped into, she took all the packet into this one bed. So there's a lot of them growing right next to the beans. We'll see what they are. Georgia has also planted plenty of corn. I have a feeling most of it's going to be between the rows. And cover the whole ground.
So pretty.
You want to plant it?
I think if I were the kind of person who was worried about highest production yield, making sure that everything was done perfectly, then I would miss those moments in the garden with my kids. That's the entire point of us living here, was that they would have experiences that we didn't have, that they would have their hands in the dirt daily, and that they would get to experience the lessons that things like the garden have to teach that we never could. This goes to show, like a lot of homestead things, someone would say, why are you wasting all this space right here? but it's because we have things like all this compost, or we have fill dirt on our property that don't make sense to just like wagon through. Instead, there's a gate that's gonna go right behind me, like a big gate that we just have from when we first moved here, and it was our entrance into the property. But now we're gonna put it up against this, and that way the tractor can come in and just dump a big pile of whatever material we're using, compost, wood chips, dirt, and then we can just use the shovel. Like filling up that big bed there yesterday was so easy compared to when we were hauling in from our piles around the property just in like a gorilla cart. And then walking through here, this is probably my favorite surprise right now. It'll be even better if it actually fruits, but this is our fig tree, and I love how it's growing because I didn't know if it was gonna die. And that might be the best part about being a new gardener, is like you're not absolutely confident things are gonna work. This was in a barrel. We grew it from a cutting, and it was there for probably 4 years. And we transplanted it into the ground, not sure whether or not it would thrive. And it's not only thriving, but it's producing. So we have little buds here. None of these leaves were on it at all. And there's soft, fresh, tender ones just even right in here. So this is the pretty order, and you're gonna see why we needed this order as I take you to the first half of the garden. This is a space that is full of all the potential still, but it's also been a workhorse for the last couple years, and I think you're gonna be excited to see what you can do when you're just piecing things together. When I first started gardening 2 years ago, I was really like finally focused on it. Bo had done so much of the work before this. I asked Jess at Roots and Refuge what she would do if she was starting a garden all over again, and she said this. She said, I would plant perennials. I don't know if it was just a juke, like, Kelly, if you plant perennials, you'll really enjoy gardening. And it absolutely was the hook that I needed. I have not planted this sage in 2 years. I have not planted this oregano in 2 years. Don't come at me for cutting it back. I know it needs a trim. But these are the kind of things, when you walk into your garden in the spring, it's already growing. You feel like you're ahead of the curve, and it's so captivating that you just want to get your hands in the dirt again. And my favorite thing, probably our kids' favorite, they don't care about the oregano. These strawberries are what keep them in here every day. It's like a treasure hunt that I didn't know. I feel like strawberries are like the octopus of the garden. You plant them and they just like sprawl out. We already have, like there's blooms here, but then there's already strawberry growing. And I didn't plant this, and that's really exciting to me.
Need to weed it.
But do we need to weed if it's already doing its job? I'm not the one you're gonna come to for like all the super detailed tricks about gardening, but I am the one you're gonna come to when you wanna know if you're doing a good enough job, because I'm doing the bare minimum of a good enough job, and it's good enough. When I say good enough job, I mean this. This is the part of the garden that's probably not going to get touched for another month while we still set up the drip irrigation and whatever we're going to do with this seeding area here, and still a lot more planting. This workhorse has been here since the very beginning. These are beds that we've had since Katy, Texas. Bo flipped them upside down, planted comfrey in them, and the comfrey will not quit. It just keeps coming back, not only every year, but all throughout the season, and it's still fresh, even in the summer drought. And Goldie loves it. We're just throwing in a few leaves with each of her feedings, especially when we need her immune system supported. All of this will get planted probably with herbs, a few more cut flowers. We'll also have some vining plants over here, like these passion flower plants. They are not going to die. They come back every year. They are prolific in our area, so if you want easy things to grow that are pretty drought proof, I think that the passion flower is a fantastic vining plant for whatever you need to trellis. Let's cut to the future vision for this space. These boards are more than just a mess. They are storage, and they'll become kind of a second layer in the same way we have 2 6-inch boards here. We're gonna put a second board onto these larger 4x8 beds, and then they'll mirror onto these. So we're gonna get rid of the small ones altogether. We'll probably repurpose the wood somewhere else in this garden, and there'll be another 2 4x8 beds right here. And then there'll be another 2, not quite 4x8 beds. They'll be more custom to fit this space. Basically, when you walk in, we'll have this same space on either side of me, and then a trellis just with a hog panel or cattle panel right here. That'll be like loofah and cucumbers and probably some summer melons. Yes, melons. And these are trees that we were sent from Food Forest Nursery, and they are beautiful. They're doing an amazing job. We've never had apples before, but this is the Einshimmer apple, and then that's a golden apple. I think a struggling but will survive elderberry.
Oh, it did come back.
Yeah, I know. I saw the leaves yesterday.
Wow, that's cool.
And then blackberries here. These are all from Food Forest Nursery. They sent us these to begin our food forest. We have all of these fodder trees, and yes, we do get berries off of this one, which is a mulberry, but we've become really good at propagating trees. It's a lot easier than we thought, and this is gonna help us start all of our food forest that we'll put outside of this garden. This will just be where all the babies grow up. And we'll put it outside of the garden onto the property with some irrigation so that we really have a space where we're walking through and picking fruit from our trees. We'll even add some nut trees in the future. So this is something that I was surprised we would have any success at. If you're interested in building a food forest, there's a link below that you can check out what they have to offer at Food Forest Nursery. Something the kids really wanted to do this year, and I'm all for it, is grow herbs for tea. So mint. It's something even Georgia has been coming out and she's like pointing to it and saying mint, and then she'll pick it off and eat it. But we did mint tea all throughout the really, really hot summer last year, and my kids are hooked on it. So we're gonna do it again this year. All of these are fodder trees, and we call them hay trees because this helps supplement our feed for our cows in the summer. And they were grown from bare root. The blackberry that we thought we killed, we did not. So don't throw out your bushes or your berries or whatever you think is dead until you're sure it's dead, because not only is it alive, but she's like climbing out of the bed. So we didn't know that that would happen. Surprise! It's okay to not know everything about what you're putting into the ground and just figure it out while you go along. This is a way that we figured things out. We took cuttings from those fodder trees. This is already a mulberry, and we don't even really grow it for the berries, but they are a huge perk. We can save these and turn them into literally any kind of sweet thing we want. It can be toppings for our ice cream. It can be snacks as we walk through the garden. This can be frozen and made into jam or whatever, but the leaves are what we were after as those fodder leaves for our animals. This whole thing is full of them. There's white mulberry. Is this the, yep, poplar? This is a hybrid poplar. And then these are willows and another mulberry here. And then underneath, right now it's just, wood sorrel that's growing under here and a couple other weeds. But we can grow things like lettuce and herbs all in the understory. And that's the principle we want to do on the property, where we've got these trees growing and then smaller shrubs in the understory, and we've got other things that can grow to help cover the ground. In our area where drought is so intense, we want to sort of re-green the dry spaces so that we're less vulnerable to erosion, and our pasture turns into pasture instead of this sort of craggy, dry, summer suffering property. What we're learning in the garden is a lot less about food and production and a lot more about stewarding our entire 7 acres. But going from the front gate to the back is really overwhelming to think of how are we going to steward all 7 of these at once in every single season. So this becomes like a laboratory, like a little cookout space where you can just experiment, put things in the ground, see how they do. If we'd never gotten passion flower in the garden, we wouldn't know that that was going to be amazing to our property as extra shade or just even foraging for our cow. They love to go by and just nibble on the leaves. So these are things that we're figuring out in this small micro space that we can then apply on the larger scale. An experiment we're doing this year that we've never done is we're gonna put leaf mulch. So right behind Bo is a pile that we were blowing together yesterday. We're gonna take the leaves just from the fallen oak leaves, and we're gonna use that as mulch this year. One, because I don't wanna pay for mulch. And two, because in the past we've had wood chips just dropped here from a tree deliveries or a tree cutting service, and it's worked out really great, but we didn't get any this year. And so we're gonna use what we've got as mulch right here. And leaves are a fantastic mulch that I think are really underutilized. We live in a forest. There is nothing but fallen leaves everywhere. They're gonna break down really fast, but it's natural to this area, so it's also gonna be really purposeful without a lot of extra cost. We're planning on bringing you a garden tour every month during this growing season. And check out the AG1 link below.